Hello, everybody. Welcome to A Moment of Clarity. I'm Lee Camp. I want to talk about the Exxon lawsuit that is going through right now. There's a major lawsuit going through in New York against Exxon and the oil sands, and they're going on trial in New York City about climate fraud. Now here's what's kind of funny is you're like, you and me, we think, oh yeah, they should be fucking sued for lying to us, for lying to the nation about the harm that climate change could cause, because they've known about this for a fucking generation. They've known about climate change was coming. They knew about it in the late 70s at least. There's tons of evidence from the 80s. In 1991, Shell created internally a video. You can look it up, 1991 Shell climate change video, and you'll find it, and it's like VHS, like someone taped over. Someone had taped like a Skinamax video where they it's not like porn, but you remember like Cinemax used to have the porn where like they couldn't show actual sex, so it was just two naked people just bumping against each other, but like not at the right angles. You're like, I think his genitalia are lining up with her belly button? Is that how that works? And if you were a 12-year-old like me watching that, you were like, I didn't know it went in the belly button. I have gotten off track. Anyway, it looks like someone had like filmed, taped that on a VHS tape, and then someone at the higher up at Shell had taped over it because they were like, somebody give me a VHS so we can create this climate change video. And anyway, it's got all the squiggly lines and shit. But in 1991, they taped a VHS tape showing what was going to happen. Like, it looks like an after-school special that Shell had put together. And the reason was because they knew this was coming. They knew this was happening. And I think internally, there was a bit of a debate. Like, well, okay, if we start shifting our business model and we let people know that things are getting out of hand, that they're gonna get out of hand, we can get ahead of it. Basically, they made this video and then they were like, oh, fuck no, this will ruin everything for us. We can't tell the world that we're going to cause the extinction of everybody and everything. So they suppressed this video. They suppressed all that data from the 80s. Exxon knew about it, I think, even earlier than Shell. These are their internal scientists. And so what I was going to say is that you and I think they should be on trial for that. Really what they're going on trial for, it looks like, is lying to investors. Because that's what matters in our world, is they had lied to investors. They had lied to the rich people who were making money off of the stock of these companies. 80% of all the stock in this country, of all Wall Street, is owned by something like 10% of people. Almost nobody in America owns that much stock except for a tiny sliver of the population. And when you fuck them over, that's when things that's when Bernie Madoff goes to jail, is when you fuck up, screw up, defraud the rich. Okay, so anyway, I am supportive of this. I'm just saying, wouldn't it be great if they could just be sued for lying to the rest of us rather than lying to investors? But I'm pursuing them in all the ways possible. And the article says the New York Attorney General says Exxon used 2 sets of books and misled investors by downplaying the potential costs of carbon emissions. They were creating 2 sets of books showing what would happen, what is happening, and lying to investors. Of course, they were lying to the public. That's a given. See, lying to the public is as old as advertising. So lying to the public, everyone's like, yeah, of course. But lying to investors, that is a no-no. You cannot lie to the fucking rich in this country or people get upset. So this lawsuit going through is great because it can prove that they've been lying about this, and hopefully get a lot of damages, thereby decreasing the amount that Exxon can continue to murder all of humanity. Recently on Redacted Tonight, I showed that it was just 100 companies that are basically dooming us all. It's fucking horrifying. And so I think if we want to have any chance of like survival in the long term, we're going to have to go at fossil fuels on every level. And probably down at the bottom, down to the least important, but I'm not going to say don't do it, is let's not use so many pieces of toilet paper when you're in the bathroom, because the paper's got to be made, and then they use fuel to cut down the trees, and so don't use so much paper. That's down the bottom. Not saying don't do it, but as you get up the list, you get into the more important ways that we will change our society if we want to have any hope of even moderately keeping climate change within check. We've lost the fight to keep it within a reasonable amount. But the question is, can we keep it within an amount that still allows some humans to go around skipping down the street? And I think lawsuits is a major one. Obviously, that's not one open to me. I am not a law student. I will not be in any future happenings here in my life. So that doesn't involve me, but obviously we can be supportive of these lawsuits. There's fighting pipelines, trying to stop these pipelines from being put in, because obviously, if they don't have the infrastructure, they can't deliver as much of this dirty. The oil sands, by the way, the tar sands is one of the dirtiest kinds of fossil fuels available. They're getting more and more desperate because the easy oil has all been grabbed up, so now they're getting into the harder stuff. And if you block these pipelines, then you block the infrastructure that allows this shit to go through and destroy our future. So that's a major one. But also, when they put in this infrastructure, they're investing in their future ability to make money off of this. So they're investing in their ability to continue to exploit fossil fuels. And when they've invested trillions of dollars into a pipeline or into oil rigs, they want their money back that they've invested. So if we can stop them from fucking investing our futures in death, in destruction, then we'll be much better off. So that's why blocking these pipelines is so crucial, because it stops them from investing in a future of death. So that's another key step. Obviously, getting young people involved and those kind of things are, they're somewhere in the middle. So like a lot of these marches, as I said recently on Redacted Tonight, a lot of them are kind of meaningless. If you get a permit and you show up for 2 hours and you go, please save us from certain death, and then you walk home and, I've been in fucking hundreds of those, okay? So I'm not saying don't do them. I'm just saying they're not going to change anything. The one thing they might do is wake up some young people to what's going on, and I think that is useful. So I'm not saying don't do them, but they definitely go lower down on the list, a little above the toilet paper thing. Stop eating so much meat. That's higher up on the list, because meat, the way we do it now, meat is the number one cause of emissions in this country. When you and climate destruction, when you put it all together, when you put the ocean dead zones and the use of water and the trucking it across the country. I mean, we have cows in torture farming here on the East Coast, and then they'll ship the meat across the country in a truck, and so it can be chopped up, and then they'll ship it back because you ordered it to have delivered to the restaurant you like here on the East Coast again. So they'll fucking ship it back and forth. We're ordering goddamn meat from China and Japan and shit. What kind of oil do you think goes into that? So, And again, I think that absolutism breeds defeatism. So if you say, God damn it, no one ever eat any meat, and if you do, I'm never speaking to you, and I'm not, you're dead to me. You're dead to me. I'll make an exception, and I'll eat you. All right, I'll fucking kill you and eat you, and that's the only meat I'm gonna eat. If you go that extreme, and I get it, I like that you're passionate, but I think you turn off, 90% of the population if you behave that way. So I don't actually yell at people to not eat any meat. I just say, don't eat any meat that's created at torture farms, and eat about 90% less meat in total. And, then maybe we can have the discussion. Once you're down to 90%, we have the discussion about the last 10%. But for now, I feel like alienating a ton of people is not a great idea. Military-industrial complex, massive one. We got to fight that because they emit more carbon emissions than most countries. Our military does. So if you want to talk about climate change and you want to talk about having a sustainable future, the military has to be part of the conversation. Okay, it really does, and the Democrats fucking hate that because they want to do the light and fluffy. We care about climate change. Even Joe Biden's like, nobody's done more about climate change than I have, and you're like, no, you've fucking done nothing. All right, you've done fucking nothing. They like to say that, but then they don't want to question our military, don't want to question any of that, don't want to question big agriculture, don't want to question the mass torture farming that we do. So if you don't question all that, you're not actually doing anything about climate change. Taking money from big oil. Yeah. So most of those people are, pieces of shit. And they're indebted to big oil. They're indebted to big ag. They're indebted to the military-industrial complex. All the places that we need major change to happen, they're indebted to. And that's why you can't actually get change from them. Long story short, I think this lawsuit is great. I think it needs to go forward. I think that law is one of the ways that we need to fight this. And, lawyers need to be encouraged. If you have lawyers in your family, encourage them to get involved or take cases that have something to do with this because, there's a lot of brilliant lawyers out there, but they're mainly focusing on protecting corporate interests because that's where that's how they get paid, right? Rather than focusing on protecting our futures and, the lives of us and the bumblebees. Because turns out we need the bumblebees to survive. I know, it sucks, doesn't it? Because they sting, right? I've heard they sting. But, they're cute if you see them at the right angle. But yeah, turns out those little guys, we got to keep them around. And, Just celebrating that we've gotten rid of yet another species. Bumblebees are apparently like the most important animal on the planet. Yeah, I know it's not us. No, we're a virus. We kill everything. Moving on. You see how I made that upbeat and cheery? That's what I have for today. But you guys should subscribe to the email list. These videos are phenomenally suppressed. If you're curious as to how suppressed they are, they seem to have, a lot of them capped at about 5,000 views. And I know that's bullshit because we have 200-some thousand subscribers. Just a couple of years ago, every video that I was putting up was at least in the tens of thousands, but often in the hundreds of thousands. And they have us incredibly suppressed on YouTube, on Facebook, somewhat on Twitter. So follow the email list. That's really the only way to kind of get most of our stuff, especially if you make sure it's not getting dumped in the spam filter. But the email list, you can text the word redacted to 444-999. You can also sign up at leecamp.com. It's on the sidebar there. All right, keep fighting.